So today we're going to be talking about autism and ADHD. I have two LCSW test prep questions today on Hello and welcome back to my channel, Mental Health with Melissa. I'm Melissa. If you're new here, please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button for more content. I post new videos every single Sunday and Wednesday, as you see here on the screen. I am a therapist, LCSW, clinical supervisor, and PhD psychology research student. Subscribing to my channel really helps me get mental health information out there to our communities of color and a ton of free LCSW test prep. So today I am going to be bringing a new LCSW test prep video to you, but before I do, I just wanted to give you some information on this new support group that I'm going to be facilitating. So I know a lot of my subscribers are in the mental health and behavioral health fields. It doesn't matter if you're licensed or unlicensed. I am going to be starting this new support group, and if you're interested, it's going to be all virtual, so we're going to be meeting online. Please send me an email to talkitout.withmelissa@gmail.com and let me know you're interested. There is a support group fee, just like with other support groups, you pay a sort of fee for the group. So just to kind of put that out there. So let me know if this is something that you'd like more information on, and I'd be happy to give you more info. So today we're going to be talking about autism and ADHD. I got a question in the comment section in one of my videos from somebody that was interested in learning more. So we're going to have two LCSW test prep questions today on autism and ADHD, or attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. So I want to give you some brief information before we get right into it. And you can always look into the DSM-5 to get full criteria if that's helpful for you. But I decided to take some of the very key highlighted information for criteria. So for autism, there's this persistent deficiency in social emotional relationships. So you may have seen that with some people that are on the spectrum, that difficulty to perhaps read social cues. There's a lack of ability to understand emotions of affect, so just kind of related to what I just said. Impacts ability to play with friends. So if they're, of younger age, it can be really challenging to play and relate to others. Restricted patterns of repetitive behaviors, such as repeated movements or related verbiage. So there may be some individuals on the spectrum that are really interested in one specific topic and may continue to talk about that topic, or again, it may be demonstrated in their behaviors. Very inflexible distress. So there may, just like this is talking about, there may be distress in behaviors and specific behaviors of playing and rituals, and hyper and hypoactivity of sensory input. So there may be a lot of hypersensitivity in regards to being in a social situation, for example. Whereas ADHD, so something very common and must be paid attention to for ADHD is this must be diagnosed, or must be present before 12 years old. So if these symptoms are not present before 12 years old, it can't be diagnosed as ADHD, and ADHD will be ruled out. So must be present in the child or individual's school or work, and somebody with ADHD can't really pay attention. For example, playing through Candyland and can't finish a game because they're very focused on like so many other things. And there's excessive talking or fidgeting, and unable, like this really innate inability to finish things. So let's go ahead and get into the test prep questions. A therapist meets with a 6-year-old child. The parent's reason for referral is the child doesn't have friends at school. The child never discusses feelings, even when asked about them by family. The child is very attentive, knowledgeable, and open to discussing volcanoes and the categories of their activity levels. The child most likely has. So let's go through the options. Option A, a learning disorder. Okay, so a learning disorder is really categorized by difficulty following instruction or the inability to process information. So does this sound like what's going on up here? The inability to process information or difficulty following instructions? That doesn't seem like that's the main complaint, because the reason for referral is the child's inability to make friends and difficulty processing or discussing feelings and emotions. Nothing to do with difficulty following instructions. If anything, the child is very attentive and knowledgeable. So because of that, we're going to cross that out. ADHD. So according to some of the criteria that we talked about for ADHD, the child is 6 years old and you have to have symptoms prior to 12, so that is correct. Let's see, the child with ADHD is excessively talking, unable to finish doing things, and is fidgeting a lot. So that doesn't look like what's going on here. So we're going to cross that out, because based on the vignette, that's actually not things that are coming up. Option C, Tourette's. So with Tourette's, there's a lot of motor and vocal tics. That's what it's mainly characterized by, and that hasn't come up at all in this vignette. So that would be incorrect. So that leaves us with option D, and just by the process of elimination, and see how knowing, just clearly knowing what the major characteristics are for each of these ones that we've already gone through really helped us determine by process of elimination, not even knowing, say we don't even know what the characteristics for autism are or is, just by knowing these other ones, going through process of elimination clearly gives us an answer here, right? I mean, obviously you still want to know what the answer or the characteristics are for autism, but it's just pretty cool that being able to know all of these things, we already have ourselves an answer. So keep that in mind, and just memorizing these sorts of developmental disorders so that you can do the process of elimination if you need to. So autism, just by process of elimination, is going to be the answer, but also because all of the types of characteristics are displayed here. So there's a lack of ability to understand emotions or to use kind of a social, emotional, relational aspect. The child does have very attentive and knowledgeable types of perspectives on one specific thing. And yeah, so this is going to be our answer, autism. Okay, the next LCSW test prep question for this video. A school LCSW meets with a 5th grader referred by the teacher who states the child is disruptive during class, never finish assignments, and has trouble sitting the entire Pledge of Allegiance due to being easily distracted. The child is likely dealing with, okay, so let's take a look here. ODD, so ODD, if you're not familiar, is oppositional defiant disorder. So oppositional defiant disorder is a type of behavior disorder, and it's diagnosed in childhood, and children with ODD are uncooperative, defiant, hostile towards people, including, family, teachers. They're more troubling to others than they are to themselves. So that doesn't necessarily look like what's going on. They can be disruptive in class. there's nothing in here about being hostile. It's more about being distracted. So we won't cross it out just yet, but we'll read the other options to be sure. Okay, ADHD. So again, as we know with ADHD from what we kind of went over earlier, it definitely has to be present at work or school, and that's what's happening up here. It's disruption during class. Can't pay attention, so he can never finish assignments, and trouble sitting the entire Pledge of Allegiance, and unable to finish things. So again, not finishing assignments. So this actually seems like it's our answer, but let's read the other ones just to be sure. Option C, autism. So again, autism, there has to be, some sort of deficiency in emotional social relationships, specific rituals and doing things, hyperactivity, sensory input. That doesn't seem like what's going on just right off the bat. So we're going to go ahead and cross that out. And then lastly, option D, Tourette's. So kind of what we talked about earlier in the previous question. Tourette's is really characterized by motor and vocal tics, and neither of those are present. So that's not going to be your answer. So if we're going back up here to option A, again, ODD, so oppositional defiant disorder, that doesn't seem like what's going on based on after reading all the other options. So our answer is going to be ADHD. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, please don't forget to leave them in the comment section below. Again, feel free to send me a email if you're interested in that support group. And I hope that this was helpful to you. And don't forget, managing mental health matters.